May we honor our ancestors in truth and spirit. Imagine how our children feel when they are bused into schools where they are the minority. Imagine them sitting in a classroom and being one of 2 or 3 black children out of 20 or more white children in the class. Then imagine how they feel when they begin to learn about their history and American history. American history is full of examples of how Europeans came to America, conquered the land and the people, and overcame all types of adversities. They give credit for their triumphs to their spirit as a people. At the same time, our children are taught that the black African people were slaves to the European American people. Our children are taught that while the oppressors were saying, "Give me liberty or give me death," we were praying, singing, begging for mercy, and running away. At that point, what could possibly be going through our children's minds? How many times have we heard that we should be proud of our history? How can we be proud of being slaves? On top of that, we are taught that before slavery, we were savages in Africa. This is a contradiction in logic. If we cannot take pride in being slaves and savages, how can we take pride in being the descendants of slaves and savages? Therefore, FNNC Publishing is blessed to present the first book to dispel the stigma of slave. Why we shouldn't call our ancestors slaves. What is a stigma? It is a mark of disgrace. It is a stain of infamy. It is a reproach on one's reputation, character, or identity. Do you believe the only thing we did was sing, beg, pray, and run away? Do you believe that we were docile under slavery? Some people may think that correcting the error of calling our ancestors slaves is a matter of semantics. What is semantics? Semantics is the study of the meaning of a word, phrase, sentence, or text. By definition, a slave is one who has lost all freedom and personal rights, who is owned by another, who is wholly subject to the will of another, and who has lost the power of resistance. When we talk about black people being slaves, we mean they were slaves to white European people. This book will show why the word slave does not and should not be applied to our ancestors who lived under slavery from 1619 to 1865. It will prove that the definition does not fit and that the word slave is a bogus word. We resisted in the house, we resisted in the fields, we resisted on the boats because of the pressure and the will to be free. In one way or another, every black African in slavery was involved in some form of resistance against slavery. Imagine how you would feel and act under those conditions. As their descendants, we are the same type of people. This book will show why this stigma has a negative effect on the psyche, spirit, and esteem of black African American people, and how it has a negative influence on how we see ourselves and how others see us. Because people believe we are the descendants of slaves, we are prompted to say, Black Lives Matter. This is the same argument we made in the 1600s when we argued, am I not a man and a brother? Am I not a woman and a sister? This book will show how calling our ancestors slaves leads to abandonment of form and what abandonment of form is. It will show why calling our ancestors slaves is a form of blasphemy. Therefore, it is not enough just to stop calling our ancestors slaves. We must understand the principles and the logic behind it. Therefore, it is necessary for us to examine some basic laws of how thoughts and beliefs work. We need to understand how the belief that we are the descendants of slaves influences our self-esteem as a people. What is the logic of the good tree and the bad tree? How does the allegory of the chicken and the duck apply to us as a people? How did slavery change us? In addition, this book offers even more insights to our disproportionate suffering as well as to the processes necessary for healing. We must understand that no healing can take place until the illness is acknowledged and understood. Correcting the error. This is the paradigm shift we have been waiting for to break the psychological chains of slavery. There was a time when everyone thought that the world was flat. Correcting the error of calling the ancestors of black African American slaves could start a domino effect, allowing us to see and correct other negative perceptions of black people. It could be the tipping point to correcting the esteem, self-hatred, and self-destructive problems that are producing disproportionate suffering among black African Americans across all of America. This book provides many other terms or words that we can use to describe our ancestors who lived in slavery instead of the word slave. When someone calls your ancestors slaves, correct them and say they were prisoners of war.